Hello, everyone. Welcome once again. My name is Caleb Ogundele, and I will be your instructor today, where I'll be talking about Power BI specifically, and we'll be introducing you to a little bit of some things in Power BI. Last week we talked about, or rather, we had while we talked about Excel, we also had some deep dive practical session into um, um, Excel. But this week we are going to be talking more on Power BI. And what is Power BI? I used to tell my friends whenever we get together that I just see in my own view, and please do not quote me. In my own view, I feel Power BI is Excel on steroids, right? That's the way I can describe it best to anyone that it's it's Excel on steroids. But however, Power BI is Power BI, and that's the reason why they call it Power BI, right? It's a power tool, and this is Power BI is just one among several other power tools that Microsoft has, right? So that's one of the things I will be talking to us about. So the question is, what is Power BI? It's a very, very strong analytical tool provided by Microsoft, and it enables us as users to share insight on data and to connect to quite a number of data sources. It also helps us to transform raw data into interactive dashboards and reports, right? Before I go into the key functionalities of Power BI, could you please, AY, could you please post the link where they can start downloading Power BI so that we can maximize our time um, together? And the data source for them where they can download the data source we'll be using for the practicals of this class. So, yeah. So that means that key functionalities of Power BI. Basically, we use it for visualizations, charts, graph, maps, and all of that. We try to use it to create things, to tell stories, basically, um, that cannot be seen with just that raw information, right? Um, One of the few things we also do is data modeling, and then we also use DAX. DAX is known as data analytical expression language. It's just like your formulas in Excel, right? Um, we also use it for real-time data monitoring. Take, for example, for those who are in Canada, you will notice that some platforms, not really, maybe not Elections Canada, while the election was being reported, some election platform were just keying in data and they allowed us to see real-time data, and so you were able to monitor it. So we can also use Power BI with other tools, while working in our office. It's integrated into other tools like our Teams when we are in a collaborative environment and things like that. So that being said, we have different components of Power BI, but the one we will be working with today is the Power BI desktop. We have the Power BI cloud service, which allows us to also share and collaborate, but only if we've been able to develop it more in our Power BI desktop, and then we can publish to the Power BI cloud service or the Power BI mobile. Now, the Power BI gateway is also like the Power BI cloud. It's just that it is like an on-premise server that is hosted locally within your organization, right? And is not open to more like the public internet. So it's more like your on-premise data, and except if you want to have like a gateway that will allow people to be able to access it, that's fine. So the good thing about Power BI also is that it allows us to connect a lot to several data sources that we can use um, uh, uh, to ingest data into Power BI and use it for our data transformation, clean up the data, and also do quite a number of things, prepare charts and all of that. So we can also use it to write custom measures, and do quite a number of things in Power BI. But one good thing I just wanted to discuss with us today, basically, haven't noticed that we talked about Excel in details last week. Let me try and bring out the last Excel, the last Excel, the last Excel dashboard that we did. Um, Forgive me, please. So I want to bring out the last Excel dashboard that we did just so you can see how refreshing that was, that we developed a Power BI on, sorry, a dashboard with. So this is one of the things we used Microsoft Excel to do. We developed a dashboard, and these are data sets that we all used. That data set will be shared with us, but I just wanted to give you an insight on some of the ways we were able to develop dashboards using basic Excel tools and all of that, and to use it to inspire you ahead of time when we will be delving into the real practical class, when we're going to be working with Power BI, right? So this is just giving you an example. So I'll go back to our slide, and we will continue from. Now, we're talking about the difference between Power BI and Excel. And just a little while ago, I quickly showed you an example of what we did with Excel, right? We're able to build dashboard. Um, but for Power BI, it allows us to do things that are more advanced and more interactive, right? And so that's what I wanted to point to us in the first instance where we had this, that we're able to do something very, very basic. But at this point in Power BI, we will be able to do something way more advanced, right? Now, for those who probably know Excel very well, you will know that it has a lot of data limitation, and the capability for it to be able to ingest data from certain sources are also very limited. But in the case of Power BI, it handles very large data sets. I think Power BI has um, I think it Excel has about, is it up to 1 million rows, 1,048,000 rows max that it can take, and that's the limit. But in the case of Power BI, it allows for more rows, several millions of rows that it can handle such kind of data set. And it's usually very good for things such as transactional data when you want to do some analysis and all of that, specifically maybe if you work in like a financial industry or like a sales, an organization that does a lot of sales and all of that. So the difference also between Power BI and Excel is that the formula that you see in Excel is now known as DAX in Power BI. They are very similar, not so different. So if you have some experiences with Excel, you can also do some of that with your DAX here, right? And with Power BI, you can do a lot of collaboration, share that data maybe to both external sources, internal sources. But for Excel, even when you're sharing that data, you only just share that data, probably the worst case scenario, maybe in a drive, and for people to be able to access that. And if that drive is limited within your organization, it can't really go out. Also, you can do a lot of automation with Power BI, especially with Microsoft Fabric that we have these days. And so you can schedule refresh, do some alerts, and if you're also very good with Power Platform, which are some of the things that we'll also try and talk a little bit about. That is something that can also help you. But in the case of Excel, it's something that you just have to do some manual refresh on. So that being said, let's move on to the next slide where we'll talk about Power BI versus other tools, right? SQL, as we all know, we use it for data querying, you understand. And Power BI integrates very well with uh, SQL data as much as possible. Same thing with Excel. Excel is for static reports. Um, Usually that data set, you have to use some other advanced tools to just bring in data into it. But for Power BI, it's usually very easy to do things like that. Python, maybe we use it basically for data science, ETLs, and all of that. But Power BI also supports Python. So if you have an understanding of Python, let's say some visualization or some ETL processes, some things that you've done in Python, and you know how to do it best with Python, but you've been asked at work that you have to use Power BI, you can integrate Python also with Power BI. Same thing also with R. And that's the reason why we are focusing on some of these tools. So you can use it to, make some of the best decisions that you want to make in real time. You can use it to support your senior executive leadership. You can also use it to get better performance on large data sets that you cannot get when you're using Excel. And there are quite a number of other certifications that one of the things that we'd love to also prepare you for in this case, which will include um, your PL 300, a certification for Power BI data analyst and all of that. And if you want to go a little bit more advanced, you do the PL 900 as well. And there are quite a number of other sample use cases that you see Power BI taking the big shine on. And one of those places include those who are working in sales and marketing. Um, you find out that Power BI is going to be used for some of your sales decisions, your financial reporting, your forecasting, and for those who are in HR, maybe you want to do like some employee performance reporting. For those who are in the medical field, biostatistics, you can do things like that. And you can also use it for customer feedback. Like if you want to understand how your customers are performing or engaging with your customer service agents and all of that, and to understand their needs. Now, one of the things that I'd like for us to understand is that being a data analyst or a Power BI guru or something does not limit us, especially when we are searching for jobs. So there are different nomenclatures that are used to search for jobs here and there for like a Power BI analyst or a data analyst and all of that. On LinkedIn, you see people use things like business intelligence analyst, Power BI developer, data analyst, business analyst, reporting analyst, data visualization specialist, analytic consultant, BI, architect, dashboard developer, insight analyst. These are all things that people tend to use to describe this same one job that we're talking about here. So I would say that when you're searching for jobs, these are like nomenclatures that are used in different spaces. So you might be wondering, why are you here? We're all humans, and there is always a driving factor, and there's always a motivation. And the reason why most of us are in working is because we want to be able to provide and support our families. And so it's always good to look at what are the financial um, incentives that comes with it. So for those who are in the US, we did a quick salary range, both from LinkedIn, from Indeed, and quite a number of other job seeking sites. And one of the things we discovered that the range of salaries are usually between the range of 85 to 180 thousand US dollars. And so it's always good to also be around the median range towards the senior level, which is the 108,000. So if you're looking at getting a six-figure job, being in this space is also something very important that I would encourage you to be in. And so for those in Canada, we also did like an average a summary of that, and then we were able to discover that between the range of 94 to 140 is also something that they should consider. So without wasting time, we went on LinkedIn, and then around April 11th this year, and then we wanted to know, if we search with some of those nomenclatures that we talked about, things such as Power BI developer, data analyst, business intelligence, things like that. If we search for it, how many jobs are currently available as at that date? And here is it. For Power BI in the United States, about 13,000 jobs are just there, waiting for somebody to grab it, right? Same thing also in Canada. Same thing also for other nomenclature such as business analyst, business intelligence, where you see things like about 95,000, data analytics in Canada, business intelligence in Canada, and things like that. So you can see that there are lots and lots of jobs because everything in this world is being driven by data these days. And so to make the best decision and to make the best and to make have a very good turnover in anyone's business, one of the things that is backed by that business is the fact that they can use data to have a competitive advantage, right? So some of the industries that use some of these tools are in financial sector, healthcare, retail, manufacturing, government, education, research, technology, real estate, just to name but few, right? And so on that note, I'll wrap up this particular section where we are having conversation and just quickly jump onto our practical class, and then So for consistency, I want us to continue to use this data set for us to be able to download it, just go to file here and come to download and download this to Excel. I hope you're following that step. Click file, come to download, download to Excel. And if you choose to, you can also download it as a CSV, right? It's that can also be accommodated. And all this file format that you see here, we can use it to integrate it. We can integrate it into Power BI as well. So I fired up my Power BI now, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of some demo of some Power BI dashboards that has been done. I think in some previous classes, just for you to be able to see and have an idea on the power of Power BI in some of those classes. So here is one Power BI dashboard. Here's one Power BI dashboard that you can see. And over here, I have it's a bit more interactive. But behind all of this goes a lot of interactivity, things that, that can help you. Just behind this goes a lot of interaction. There are a lot of things I'd like to show you today, but I'm trying to also caution myself to make sure that I break it down to the barest minimum, that everyone, irrespective of the fact that you are new to Power BI or data analytics, or you probably did not follow the class from last week's Excel, you can be able to build a Power BI dashboard. So I will go ahead and close this, and we should start with, don't save. We should start with our Power BI from a very, very blank slate. So here we go. So the first thing I did was I downloaded my HR analytic file, and I think I downloaded it into my download folder, and I'll see HR analytic one, and I will come here and say, I want a blank report, or I want to select a data source, which can be an Excel book. Now, the next thing I'm going to be doing is that, given the fact that I know that it is Excel that I want to use as a file, I'll click on Excel. However, I can click on Excel here and it will automatically allow me to import that data file. Or I'll click here on blank reports, which I usually like the most, right? And then it gives me more options. So here I have the option to say, I want to import data from Excel, data from SQL. I want to paste the data into a blank table, or Power BI has a sample data set that I can use, right? That's on the one hand. On the second hand, we also have different ribbons and menu section here, which is the home, the insert, the modeling, the view, the optimize, the help, and all of that. Later on, when we are having a real deep dive, I will be going on to explain each and every one of the tools and the purpose where they use them for. But I want to make this as simple as ever, just to break it down and for you to know that Power BI is such a an interesting and powerful tool, but yet it's very simple, right? So the next thing I will do is I can come here and say, I want to get data, and it gives me several data sources, different from the initial one that I saw when we first opened Power BI. where we saw Blank, Excel, Azure, and the rest of them. So it gives me way more here, right? And also, you can see that these are the same thing, Open Lake, SQL, I can enter my data and stuff like that. However, I want to expose you to the fact that you can still have access to more data sets or data types that you can data sources that you can import data from. So when I click more here, it will give me way more, right? And it has been able to help me categorize all of them here. So flat files are usually Excel, JSON, and things like this. Databases are like Access, SQL, Snowflake, and then we have things like MariaDB, and the rest of them, and other SAP systems, Postgre and MySQL, right? And for Microsoft Fabric, we also have them here. And we also have for Power Platforms as well, Azure and other online services, as well as other data sources where we can pick our data from. And you will probably notice that while we were talking in the Power BI, we have things like R script, we have Power Python here. And so these are like examples that we can use, let's say maybe the Python for our ETL processes, and then use it to bring in our data and then use it to create visuals here in Power BI. So I'll cancel this. And I will just do the very simple thing. I can come here and say import data from Excel, or I can come here and say import data from Excel workbook. So whichever one you choose, it will work. So I'll just click on, let's say this one, because the shortcut is there. And I have my HR analytics here. And I'll click open. Now, this brings me to a transformation view where it's going to try to load that data. So if I click here on the HR analytics, right, you see that it's going to bring out the same data source that we have, and it is carrying all the same header as we have it. So the first thing I will do is I can load this, or I click on transform data. However, in Power BI, it is always advisable that you transform your data because not all the data are usually very clean. And so it is always good that you transform your data. So I'll click on transform data here. Now, we can see that in transform data, this is replicating the same thing that we have, just like our Excel sheet, right? But we can't make the best use out of it, except let's say maybe we have one or two things to clean up. And where is transform data? Okay, because of the person asking, I will cancel this and start a little bit. Let me go back. This is Priscilla asking question in the chat. So I'll say not now. And I'll say discard changes. So I've cleaned up what I was doing. I don't have any data at all inside this particular Power BI file, right? And as you can see it here in my data well, you can't see anything. So I can click here and say get data, or I click here and say get data from Excel, or I click here and say Excel workbook, or I click here and say import data. So because we did this one, and you know that if I click this one, it's almost the same thing, and this one is almost the same thing. I would choose to do this one from my data well here. So I'll click get data. It's saying Excel, and I will say connect, and then it will open this for me, and I'll click OK. So it will pop up something for me where I will now, under the navigator, I'll select this. I will select this and I'll click on transform data. So for Priscilla asking, this is transform data. I will try to look for my annotation tool to be able to highlight that in case you need me to highlight that again for you. Where is my annotation tool? Annotation tool. So this is transform data. So I have an option to just load that data. So if I know that that data is clean enough and I want to do virtually anything I want, I can just click load data here and then just start my visualization right away. But like I say, never trust any data. It's always good. Okay. I see you. I see what you're doing on your screen. Good work. Yeah, so I see Priscilla is following this. Let me try and see what you are saying here. Okay, so I see Ademola sharing a screen. Load and transformation is not active. Yes, the reason why load and transformation is not active is that you've not checked the box. So there is something, that box beside HR analytics here. You need to check it here. So check this box. Thank you, Elizabeth. I see one thing I like about this class, anytime we are teaching, is that I always get assistant tutors that help me in this class that makes it more and more interesting. And you guys make my job easy because one of the things I realize is that when we both teach each other and share some of this information, we tend to know it more and get better. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, Priscilla, and every other person helping out in the chat. Thank you. Ah, Elizabeth added a smile. Thank you with the smile too. So let's get back to the class. So check here and click on transform data. So basically this data, I think, as far as I'm concerned, is a bit clean. Um, there is nothing so much to worry about. In the real deep dive in Power BI that we'll be doing, I will be showing you how to do deep dives into how you can clean up your data. But just to let you know that um, in this kind of situation, um, there are a few things that I'd like to call your attention to. So here we have place where we can say new source, and it allows us to add more data. Let's say I want to combine this Excel sheet with an SQL data. I can also click my SQL here and connect. So let me assume that I also have a data from, let's say, a website. I can also do that here. So Tolu, you said, can you unmute and let me know what you're saying, Tolu? Unmute. I clicked on transform. Have you been able to do that, Tolu? Great. So now, like I was saying, I can add more data to this data source and do quite a number of things. But I'm trying as much as possible to just make this Power BI class, the extremely basic, so that you can understand basics and just, get interested in Power BI, and not make it go a little bit of do some deep dives, for us that will, cause a little bit of, making it look like, oh, Power BI is not for me, right? Power BI is so simple. It's just the steroid version of Excel. Okay, noted, Tolu. So the next thing is I can go to the column here to try and also see what are the columns that I have, right? Try to understand what those columns are, and I can use it to navigate it to, let's say, anywhere I want. Now, I can also refresh everything I have in this data. Let's say as I'm working, people are imputing more data, and so I need to see a little bit of things so I can refresh here. I can also try to say if I don't want certain column, right? I can say I want to remove them as well. So I'm trying to look for, let's say standard hours, right? I can remove, let's say overtime, yes or no, or I don't know. Any of this data might be very important for us, so I don't want to just remove them. So I can either say here, I want to remove this row or keep the row. So in the event that you don't want any of this data, or you feel that the data is too much, you can do any of that. And again, I can split my colon right here. So I can say that I want to do a split, right, with the delimiter. I'm sure we all saw all of that last week when we did it, split by delimiter. And then let's say our delimiter is this, and I will just click OK. And did you notice that it has separated the age group from 18 to 25? It has separated both of them for us. So I have my age group here, right? And I have my other one here as well, right? But I actually do not need that age group to separate, right? But I'm just showing because I know that we did the same thing in Excel the last time. So one of the things that I will do to bring this back, to reverse myself, is that every time I take action, there is something called an applied step here. It allows me uh, to be able to go back to a previous state as is that I was in that data in case I missed my step. So knowing fully well that I don't want to separate that age group, I will go back and click on this, and I'll click on this, and you notice that that age group has returned back to the current state it was before now. So what is it that I'm calling your attention to? This kind of data transformation and cleanups that I'm trying to show you an example of is very good, especially when you have very large data sets and when you are working with um, things like complex names, like names that are not normalized. Take, for example, you will see data where they will put the surname and the first name together, and your manager or your boss in the office can say, no, I want a way where you can separate the first name and the last name. I don't want them all together, so that if I want to filter, I can filter by this particular person's surname and things like that. So these are just examples for us to know. And again, there are way more other things that we can talk about, that we can do a deep dive here, but I don't want to go deep dive into any of this at the moment, right? Simply because of the fact that I just want us to see how we can quickly build a visual out of this already prepared data that looks like it's already prepared. And then we can move on from there. So let me try and see if I can save my data um, and see how we can open this in, let's say, Excel. Do I have Excel here? Oh, great. I have Excel. 1 second. Okay, great. Let's continue. So the next thing I'm going to do is I feel that I have finished up my data transformation and cleaning that I need to do. And all I need to do is come over here to close and apply. As you can see, close and apply, right? To now close this transformation view and now start building my dashboards. So it's waiting for me over here to start doing all of that. So it's connecting my data, seeing if it can create any model for me. And that can probably be if I have more than one table, right? And it wants me to be able to do some data modeling. So if I want to do my data modeling, I can do my data modeling here. So these are all the columns that we have, right? And you can see all of them all here as well in the data model view. We also have the table view that allows me to see virtually everything I saw in Transform. And I can also make some new things here. I can create new measures, quick measures, new column, right? All from this section that I am. And I can also add more data, just virtually anything I want to do that I have in the report view, right? So I can also do that. Here also I can write my DAX query, right? We talked about DAX. DAX is just like the same formula that we have, in Excel, right? So I can decide that I want to write a formula here in this place, and then it's going to capture it as well. Oh, I didn't know I have one here. Okay. So let's get back to our report view. Now let's look at our data. What are the first few things that I want to do in this data? I usually like to use either a table view and a matrix view to first of all see the numbers in my table before I start creating any visual. So last week, one of the things that we did was that we wanted to see the age, the gender, and quite a number of things, attributes or distributions that we have within that data. Now, what was the first thing that we did? We started first with, let's say, gender. So in this data well, if I don't want to scroll down and start searching for gender, if I know my header name, the first thing I'm going to do is I would rather just type it gender, and you see it pops it out. But I also know where it is, right? So it's here. So I don't want to stress myself. So the first thing I can do is, first of all, drag it and drop it here. You notice that it created a table for me automatically, right? And here's a matrix. I'm going to try to show you the difference between the matrix and the table, right? But for the purpose of this, let's just quickly go and say for the gender, I want to see how they are in different departments, right? Um, Let me try and make this a bit bigger. How they are reflected in different departments. Now I can swap this, and you notice that there are changes in the way they are being presented. And I can also swap this with matrix, and you can see that they are being presented in this way. So I hope you've been able to see the difference between a table and a matrix. So a matrix is like your pivot table that we talked about in Microsoft Excel. So let's now say that I want to run a count of all of this to understand how many employees are there. Now, we all know that employee IDs are very unique. And because employee IDs are very unique, I'll click on employee ID, right? You see that employee ID is just giving me some numbers, some random numbers here that I don't understand. But it is under my values here. And so the next thing I would do is I would rather say count this for me. So if it's counting it, you see that it's now giving me the numbers instead of the content that is inside that table, such as different employee ID numbers, right? So you can see that it's giving me a count of this. Now, so this is a breakdown, a distribution breakdown of how many female we have in human resources and how many male we have in human resources. So if I come back here and I click table again, you can see that it's presenting it in a different view for me, right? And if I come here and let's say I'm swapping this department, right? The way it is now, you can see that it's presenting this under human resources. I have this and I have this, and I come to table again, it will present it a different way. And I come back this way to present it a different way, right? So I'll bring department here now, and you see that it's doing it this way, that human resources, research, sales, male, female, right? So I can read both the male and female all in one stretch like this. So which one would you prefer? How did I bring up the value? What value? Can you open your mic? Under the colon in middle. Oh, okay. You mean this? So all I did was I just brought department under the same row. So it's a drag and drop. This is human resources. I just did that. I'm sorry. This is department over gender. Oh, the count of the employees. So I went to employee ID and I dragged the employee ID into values. Toye, don't worry. The video is there. Um, you can watch it again. Just make sure you drop your email so that you can follow through with the class. Because I don't know where you are. I don't know where you are, so I can't, except if you can give me an idea of where last you were able to catch up. And if that catch up is close to where we are, I can maybe backtrack a little bit. Okay. So, Tolu, I see that you already understand that part. So this is me just playing with the visualization, right? I can drag it anywhere I want, and it goes to male, female, or female, or department by department, and all of that. So I can see that, or I can rather bring it, that department here, or I can go back this way and say, I'm bringing the gender to be on the colon, while the row is going to be the department. So that is a breakdown. So that's one of the things about this kind of visualization, right? So, having said that, um, let me make a copy of this. I will make a copy of this. And I don't need to stress myself. All I need to do is, if I want to create a visual on this, all I need to do is just do a colon and voila, here we go. Here is a colon for us to understand how that is. So let's say I want to do it this way. I can bring my gender to the legend so that you'll be able to see it by department and by gender. So what I did was that I removed my gender from the and the X axis and I brought it to legend. And so I'm able to see that this gender male and this gender female, and you can see the legend over here. Any question based on this? Who is that? Who is speaking?
It's Priscilla.
And you've been following.
Yeah, under values, mine says first employee ID and yours says count employee ID.
So here, right?
Yeah.
For this
Yeah.
table.
Yes.
So this is the place you're going to change it. You will see like a small drop down here.
Okay.
You see that small drop down?
Yeah.
You
Okay, you change it to count.
change it
Okay.
to count or count distinct. So it was formerly on first. This was where it
Yeah.
was before.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I came here, I clicked on it and then I clicked on count.
Okay.
So I hope you already understand that section.
Yes.
Okay. So would you want me to also show you how to go about the other one?
And the bar chart, how did you?
Okay, so I would delete the bar chart now. This is the bar chart. I am going to make a copy of this. Obviously, you know how to do a copy and paste, right?
Yeah.
Just do copy, Control C, Control V. See, I just made a
Okay.
copy of it. And all I did is just come here and click on any of the charts I want,
Okay.
right? So earlier, I think I did um, the clustered chart column, right? Um, Deep dive into the way when we're going to be teaching Power BI, really, I'm going to be telling you all the uses of all these charts and where and when it is applicable to use it and how best to use it, right? And depending on the visuals you want to bring out. So I'll just say, I'll click on cluster charts. You can see that it's just bringing out my male and female, right?
Yes.
I want it to be that it is by department and you should be able to, I want to see it comparatively like male, female, like this in a visual for that, but I can't see it this way, right? So what do you think I should do here? I will drag my gender and bring it to legend, and that solves my problem.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
I hope you see that Power BI. I hope I've been, let me say it the way we usually say it in secondary school when we are doing debating, during our debate society day, where we say, I hope I've been able to convince and not confuse you that Power BI is a very cool tool. I hope you get the joke. So yeah, yeah, thanks. So Now, having said that, and I encourage anyone, if you have any question, please stop me and I will answer that question, right? So this is what it is. But hey, there is so much to this. Why is it that I'm only seeing this and then I'm not seeing some nice stuff showing more interactivity? So for example, I know I have this gender and stuff like that. I can still drag this gender here to tooltip so that you can see. Now you see that I have a tooltip showing gender, or I can close it and maybe say employee ID. And let's see if it's going to run counts for me. It's going to run the counts, right? So, or let's say inside just this one visual, I want to see the different age groups or something, right? I can still come here and drag it into um the, what do they call it? The tooltip, because we did legend now. So I'll do tooltip and then I'll do count again. And you see that I have this. Am I supposed to use count? Or let me just do this value as percent of grand total. But I will use this instead. Percent of grand total. So you can see that it's going to be giving me percentage here of everything. So it's giving me additional information in the tooltip, right? And another thing that maybe let's say I want to add more things to this, I can come here and say that in this paint bar here for the format visual, I can come to the data label and just check it and say, I want data label. You can see that it added number for me, right? And I can format everything I want the way I want it, and the way I want the value to show. I can make it more bold. I can even change the color if I choose to, or if I want to. Let's change it to something like blue, right? Something just for you to see the difference. Not like I like that color. It's not the best, right? And then I can do virtually other things here, but I don't want to talk about here for the additional visuals, right? I just want to make this as simple and as basic as ever, right? So this is an example of how we build dashboards. Now, I won't say that. I want us to be able to replicate what we have in our Power BI, sorry, in our Excel, what we have in our Excel that we did last week. That we have in our Excel that we did last week. So I'm going to do a screenshot of that and I will try to bring it inside Power BI so that we can use it for comparison. So I will say download screenshot, one screenshot. Just hold on 1 second. So I'll create a new page here, a new report page, and just bring this in. New image, just for us to have it as an example. So this was what we did in Excel the last time. Yes, you can have the recording of the Excel class, right? So haven't shown you some of the things that we did. So we did one called gender distribution. So let's quickly just go back and rush all of that through. I think that was what we were doing here. The way we did that gender distribution was that um, I'll make a copy of this now, or rather, I won't make a copy of this. I will just change the visualization to, let's say, like a bar chart. So you see the gender distribution that we have here. This is what we did in Excel. So I am just replicating all of that. Gender distribution. And then we also have here a distribution by department, um, a distribution by department and gender. So I think we've been able to do that here. So we've done that here. And here we also have a gender distribution by those who travel or who haven't traveled that much. So I can just replicate this one, right? And say copy, paste, right? It's still the same data set. And I will look for business travel here, which I believe is that place. And I will say, instead of department, I will put business travel. So I'll drag business travel here and I'll remove departments. So it shows us those who travel frequently and who don't travel frequently. And it shows us the percentage as well, right? So we've been able to do that. We did this, we did this. And this one is this particular one is trying to make it bigger. This particular one is talking about health, human resources laboratory. Okay, so it's talking about distribution by, sorry, let me look at the Excel sheets and make it a bit bolder. Okay, so I think this is talking about by title, right? So let's get back to this. So it's talking about by title. So let's try and do this distribution here. I'll reduce this and I'll do a copy and paste. And I will do something like in form of, I think title should be, or role. Yeah, job role. So I'll go back to the visualization here and remove business travel and I'll do job role. So it's doing a distribution by job role for us. So what I just did right now is replicated this same stuff that we did, but you might be wondering, hey, we have all of this HR analytic and then this logo. I can come here and just look for, let's say, any other logo that I want. Let's say I want to insert image. Not sure what image this is, but let me quickly download an image from Google. I just got the logo I wanted to use, so I'll just come here, insert image, and so this is AAA consult image. I'll bring it up here and move it as my logo. Right? So as my logo, and I can also insert text and say HR analytics. And I would click, try to make it a little bit bolder. and drag it up here. Drag it up here. As you can see, HR analytics. And I think I still have a lot of real estate here. So I can still make this a little bit bolder and even create more visuals that I want. And you might be wondering, why is it that this stuff here is having a lot of text like count and stuff like that? I can still go back and change it in my visuals here and say I'll go to title, go to general, and then the title here. And I can change, let's say the text, I'll just say count of, I'll delete this other one, and you see that it will reduce, right? Count of this versus this. And so that's an example of how I can make the modification. And I can also still expand this. And what other thing do we have in this dashboard? You see that we have some slicers we serve as our filter. So we have age group, we have marital status, we have job role. So what are the things that we'll do is that we have a, a particular visualization here called slicer, which I will do. I'll bring it here. You can see that I have a slicer and it's saying that I should add a data to it. I think we have age group. Let me add age group. And you see that if I click on anything, it starts becoming very interactive, right? However, I don't think I like the way this age group is looking like. So I can come over here under the paint format visual and change my slicer setting and say that I don't want it as a vertical, I want it as a drop down. And you can see that it's a bit clean now. And I can bring it here. And if I do it now, you can see that it's cleaner. It's also not allowing me select multiple. So I can come back to my slicer settings here and say selection, make it multiple. And for it to allow me to select also, I think I need to uncheck this one, right? So you can see that it's allowing me to select almost anything I want. So what do I need to do? I will duplicate this again, bring it over here, reduce this, bring it over here. And I think what else did we create here in the Excel? For those of you wondering, this is a continuation of our Excel class, replicating exactly what we did in Excel here. But you notice that this is quicker and faster the way we are doing it compared to Excel, right? So I'm just giving you an idea. So I think we have marital status and job role. So I will do I will do marital status here, marital status here, and I'll do job role here. And here we go. You can see that in the visualization, it's probably carrying the age group with it. I don't need the age group again, so I will delete the age group. So you can see that we have both the job role, the marital status, and we have our dashboard complete and looking almost like the one we had in Excel. And you might be wondering, okay, so it all looks blank and bland like that. Yes, I can add several visuals that I want if I choose to. I can just type shadow here, right? And say I want to add a shadow to that. And just to highlight it and let you know the difference between all of them. Um, and so that is a quick one. I can decide to add another picture to the background or an image to the background just to show you or give you an idea of what I am doing. But hey, this is just a quick demo and a simple dashboard just to show us what is possible with Power BI. I hope that I have been able to convince you and not confuse you that Power BI is the tool to understand, right? So this is just an example.
We've got a 12 weeks data analytics bootcamp that is starting on May 31st. And here you're going to learn. So what we're doing here is just taking baby steps, right? So here you're actually going to learn a lot more about data analytics. So you want to be a data analytics guru. You want to really spend some time diving into data, learning more about data, how to work on different types of data sets using Excel, Power BI, SQL, R, Python, and all that. So that's what we're going to do here in this class. So it's a 12 weeks class. So it's really intensive where you're learning a lot. And the classes are on Saturdays and on Wednesdays. And the link, I've been putting the link in the chat as well for us to take a look at it for those who want to register. And I want to say a big thank you to all those who have registered so far. Quite a number of people have registered. From the last class, I want to say thank you to all those who have joined, who have registered. And for the classes, just to let you know, the classes in terms of cost in the if you're paying USD, if you're in the States, it's 1,500. And right now we have a 10% discount, which brings that to 1350. In Canada. It's 2000 Canadian, which brings it to 1800. And we allow for installment payments, or if you want to make a full payment. And the code for you to get that 10% of is Learn Data. You can apply that online. You can pay through Zelle, through Interact. You can pay with your credit card as well. And there are different payment options that you can use to actually spread the payment out. So if you've got questions, please feel free to reach out about this. I put the link in the chat as well. So please ensure you're going there and registering. And for those of you who have friends as well who have been enjoying these free sessions I've been sharing, please share that with your friends and family so they can take advantage of this class, so they can, skill up on the things that they want to get into, especially in data and outside of data too. For instance, people who are in business analysis, you're a project manager, you work in medical, you work with medical data and all that. So irrespective of the field you are, data analytics is, what's very valuable nowadays, because you're always seeing reports, you want to analyze those reports, you want to bring out insights for your business leadership. So this is one of the things that would help you in achieving those goals in your career. In terms of next class, our next free class happens on May 24th. So that's the next free class, and same time, same link. So we're not changing anything. But before I talk about what's next after this, we have one of our alumni from the last class who's joined today, and I just want him to share his experience for a minute or two. And if you guys have questions, you can please feel free to ask. Ayriji, I don't know if you're here yet.
I'm here.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Good
So
morning, everyone.
good morning. Good morning. So, Ayodiji, I would just like you to share what were the things you learned? How was the class for you? What was in the interview prep experience? How did you, in terms of landing a role, how was it for you? And after you got your job, how was the support after all that too?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ayodeji. I'm based in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I signed up for the last cohort, and it's been a very wonderful experience. For people that know me, I don't think I know Priscilla. Um, it's you know, before registering for the class, I had doubts. I had different boot camps, but based on recommendations. I joined Triple A, and I will tell you, I don't regret joining at all. Mr. Caleb was instructor too, and he was very, very helpful. Aside the fact that the class, I used to disturb him offline for one or two things, and the support was great. So it's a good team, Mr. Ayo and Mr. Caleb. It's a very, very good team. They've been very, very supportive. Um, in getting the job I got, I work as a HR analyst in here in Manitoba, and it's been a very good experience. The CV prep, the interview prep, top notch. There are times that Mr. A will call me 11 p.m. Is that dedicated? Even when I felt that he had forgotten, call me 11 p.m. I already alpha. Yeah, 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 just start like 11. The job search thing gets into you once and you're like, am I sure I'm going to get job? But I'm assuring you, once you put your mind to it and you keep working, it's not enough to work in the class. Even after class, you have to practice, practice, practice immediately. If you don't know anything, reach out to them, reach out to Mr. Caleb. They're always very open. They are very open. Even the job I'm doing right now, I still reach out to Mr. Caleb at times. Like, you won't regret anything. I can testify. My wife can testify because my wife did project management, and both of us are working now based on their, you know, tutelage, and I can tell you that you are in the safe hands. You are in the safe hand. For you that whoever has a relationship with him already, the way he treats you, the way he talks to you, this you know that it's not because of the money. Like I said, I can say even after the boot camp, I was working with Triple A, doing projects and all that. So it's about relationship and the effort you put into it. Not if you register for all this and you don't practice it, it's just like a waste of time. So you have to make sure you practice, 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 and that's what I can say. So if anybody have any question online, maybe because they are here, you might not want to ask those questions. It's fine. You can share my number. You want to reach out. Uh, just feel free.
I want to say a big thank you, IODG, and thanks, Caleb, too. So, for those who have questions, please, if you want to ask IODG any question, you can feel free, reach out, and I can provide his contact to you, and you can talk to him directly in case you still have, if in case there's still any doubt in Thomas. Something I would like to also appeal to you guys, please, if you can follow our social media pages, I put that in the chat there as well. If you want to register, you can reach out, you can ask questions from there. And like I mentioned, the classes would start May 31st to August 16th. This is a practical class. You're learning things. And as at least you must have seen and you must have heard now, Caleb is a data guru when it comes to all these tools, Power BI, Excel, SQL, R, Python. So you're going deep dive into all these tools for 12 weeks and you own your own success yourself because we're having those projects, you're taking away the assignment, you're coming back, you're showing, and wherever you're having issues, he's always there to help. And even after the class, if you have, like you heard from AY just now, after the class, if you've got issues or questions, you can always reach out and ask questions there. So that's the details right there on the screen. Next free class, like I mentioned, is on the 24th. So please feel free, join us for the next free class where we'll be going a little bit into SQL so you can learn about SQL. What's next, guys? Take some time to learn on your own. We'll still take some questions. If you have questions, take some time to learn on your own. Join the next free session on May 24. Follow our channels on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. I left all that in the chat. It's all at AAAconsults.com. Reach out if you have any questions, because sometimes your questions might be things that are even free, right? So it's not all about money. It's about helping each other. It's about helping the community, helping people, grow, helping you land roles in the different careers you have. There have been tons of people who have come to some of these classes, and they've reached out and they've gotten free advice, free guidance on things that they can do to enhance their careers, to get to get things started, or even they're in certain careers and they want to move up in those careers. We've given free support, and the numbers as well, I shared that in the chat. You can reach out on those numbers, if on that number, if you have any question. Register for the data analytics bootcamp. I can't say this enough for those who may want to learn more, or you've got family or friends who want to get started in their careers. And as we mentioned earlier, data is the new oil. It's what you need practically everywhere, unless you're a surgeon in the medical room, right? Where you're actually operating on people and you're not looking at data. Even for a surgeon, you need your data, right? You want to see how many of your surgeries were successful, what's, the post-hospitalization rate and things like, maybe infection rates and things like that. So data is like critical to practically everything we do in the world we have today. Here's the number on the screen as well. If you've got questions or you want to reach out about the classes. And once again, I want to say big thank you for those who have registered for the class so far. And for those who have shared the contacts to with others, I want to say a big thank you to you. If you're making a reference, please reach out, because we have a bonus for referrals. So if you're making a reference, please reach out so that you can get that registration link. It's here, and everything else, email, the phone number is right there.